Hey, Wheel of Time fans! If you've journeyed through the vast landscapes of Randland and reveled in the magic, politics, and dark prophecies, then you're going to want to stick around. We've got 5 mind-blowing fantasy shows that will keep you on the edge of your seat, just like the Wheel of Time. From epic battles to magical realms and unforgettable characters, these series will transport you to new worlds of adventure. Ready to dive in? Let's go! The Witcher. If the Wheel of Time enchanted you with its intricate magic systems, political intrigue, and sweeping sense of destiny, then The Witcher is your next obsession. Premiering on Netflix in 2019, The Witcher is based on the beloved book series by Andrzej Sapkowski, which previously inspired a cult favorite video game franchise. This adaptation plunges viewers into a world shaped by ancient empires, sorcery, and lurking monsters, not just the ones with claws, but the ones that wear crowns. The story centers on Geralt of Rivia, a witcher who was mutated through magical alchemy to hunt monsters. Geralt is no chosen one in the traditional sense. Instead, he's a deeply reluctant hero, often seen as an outcast in a world that both needs and despises him. What makes Geralt's story so compelling, especially for Wheel of Time fans, is how it navigates themes of fate, identity, and personal sacrifice. Much like Rand al'Thor, Geralt is tied to a larger prophecy and must contend with forces far beyond his control. Another reason The Witcher stands tall among modern fantasy is its magic system and political complexity. Mages in this world operate from the Brotherhood of Sorcerers and are often more terrifying than the beasts Geralt slays. Characters like Yennefer of Vengerberg, a powerful sorceress with a tormented past, bring the same fierce independence and emotional depth that made Moiraine Daemondred so compelling in The Wheel of Time. Meanwhile, the continent's kingdoms play a dangerous game of alliances and betrayals, echoing the same kind of geopolitical tension that drives much of the Wheel of Time saga. Then there's Ciri, Geralt's ward, and arguably the true center of the series, who embodies the kind of mythic child of prophecy trope familiar to Wheel of Time fans. Her arc explores what it means to be a chosen figure, a weapon shaped by generations of prophecy and fear. If you enjoyed the themes of reincarnation and destiny woven into Rand's journey, Ciri's struggle with fate and power will resonate just as deeply. Visually, The Witcher delivers stunning fantasy landscapes, atmospheric castles, enchanted forests, and terrifying monsters crafted with impressive effects. But it doesn't shy away from grit. This is a dark fantasy, filled with blood-soaked battles, gray morality, and tough choices. Yet beneath its hardened surface, it carries a deep emotional core, often highlighting the loneliness and cost of heroism. In many ways, The Witcher offers a more mature, edgier take on the themes that make the Wheel of Time so beloved. Destiny versus free will, the burden of power, and the struggle to hold on to one's humanity in the face of a crumbling world. It's raw, emotional, and richly layered, perfect for those who want their fantasy to challenge the soul as well as dazzle the eye. His dark materials. For those captivated by the layers of prophecy, the struggle between personal freedom and authoritarian control, and the question of whether fate can be rewritten, His Dark Materials is a spiritual companion to the Wheel of Time. Adapted from Philip Pullman's renowned trilogy, this BBC and HBO collaboration delivers one of the most cerebral and emotionally stirring fantasy series of the past decade. At its heart, His Dark Materials follows a young girl named Lyra Belacqua, who lives in a world parallel to our own, a place where souls exist outside the body in animal forms called daemons. Lyra, like Rand al'Thor, begins her journey unaware of the powerful forces converging around her. Over time, she learns that her existence is tightly bound to a prophecy that could determine the fate of all worlds. Sound familiar? Fans of the Wheel of Time will immediately recognize the theme of a chosen youth, navigating a reality shaped by centuries of hidden knowledge and suppressed truth. What sets His Dark Materials apart and makes it essential viewing for fans of intelligent fantasy is its willingness to grapple with big ideas. The series dives deep into themes of spiritual repression, the abuse of institutional power, and the fear of human potential. In Pullman's world, The magisterium is a powerful religious political force that seeks to control not just people's actions, but their very thoughts. This mirrors the White Tower's political scheming and the Children of the Light's rigid ideology in the Wheel of Time, drawing unsettling parallels between fantasy and our own world's historical systems of control. Lyra's journey spans multiple worlds, some filled with talking polar bears, others with sentient angels, and still others where science and magic blur into one. Like the Wheel of Time, the story isn't confined to one realm, but opens up into a vast multiverse, where every choice ripples across countless realities. Alongside Lyra is Will Perry, a boy from our world who becomes her companion and equal in destiny. Their bond is one of the emotional anchors of the series, much like the strong relationships between Rand, Egwene, Perrin, and Matt. The magic system in his dark materials is subtle but powerful. From the truth-telling alethiometer to the soul-bonded daemons and the mysterious dust, a metaphysical particle tied to consciousness, the show explores magic not just as a tool, but as a metaphor for growing up, questioning authority, and embracing uncertainty. This philosophical undertone is rare in fantasy, and it gives the series a maturity that fans of Jordan's work will appreciate. Visually, his Dark Materials is a feast. From the ice-lit palaces of Stalbard to the ethereal beauty of Citagaz and the darkness of the Land of the Dead, each world is crafted with care, detail, and a haunting sense of wonder. The CGI is restrained but meaningful, focusing more on mood and world-building than spectacle for its own sake. Perhaps most importantly, his Dark Materials never underestimates its audience. Like the Wheel of Time, it believes that fantasy can be both thrilling and deeply meaningful. It asks difficult questions. What happens when knowledge is forbidden? Can children change the fate of the cosmos? Is it better to obey or to question? These are the same kinds of existential themes that give the Wheel of Time its depth and staying power. In the end, his Dark Materials offers not just a journey through strange lands and dangerous adventures, but a powerful exploration of courage, truth, and the resilience of young minds in a world designed to silence them. It's a show that doesn't just entertain, it awakens. Game of Thrones. No list of must-watch fantasy shows would be complete without Game of Thrones. Despite its controversial final season, the series stands as a towering achievement in epic storytelling and world-building. Adapted from George R.R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire novels, Game of Thrones doesn't offer a typical battle between good and evil. Instead, it explores the complex gray areas where power, loyalty, and ambition collide. For fans of the Wheel of Time, the connections run deeper than just dragons and kings. Both shows are built on rich histories, tangled prophecies, and a sprawling ensemble of characters whose paths intertwine in unexpected and often tragic ways. Set in the continents of Westeros and Essos, Game of Thrones unfolds over 8 seasons as a multi-generational battle for the Iron Throne intensifies. The political landscape of Westeros, with its noble houses, alliances, betrayals, and deadly games, feels strikingly similar to the rival kingdoms and factions seen in the Wheel of Time. The manipulation and maneuvering within the White Tower, the tension between nations like Andor and Tyr, and the hidden hands steering events from the shadows echo throughout Game of Thrones. Whether it's the cunning of the Lannisters or the quiet honor of the Starks, viewers can find familiar archetypes shaped into brutally realistic versions. One of the strongest parallels between the two shows is the presence of prophecy and its burden. Just as Rand al'Thor is the Dragon Reborn, a figure whose fate is written in ancient texts, Game of Thrones explores the idea of the prince that was promised, a messianic prophecy that looms over the storyline. Characters like Jon Snow and Daenerys Targaryen carry the weight of destiny, facing the dual challenge of shaping their identities while the world projects legend onto them. Much like the Wheel of Time, the show questions whether prophecy is a guiding light or a manipulative tool, and whether fate is inescapable. Magic in Game of Thrones is slower to awaken, but once it returns, it transforms the entire world. The reemergence of dragons, the rise of the White Walkers, and the mysterious powers of the Red Priests introduce an ancient primal force that mirrors the awakening of the One Power in the Wheel of Time. And much like how the Aes Sedai seek to understand and control the source, Game of Thrones features characters, such as Melisandre, who wield magic in the service of both truth and deception. These supernatural forces aren't just for spectacle. They challenge belief systems, reshape politics, and determine the fate of nations. Visually and thematically, Game of Thrones remains unmatched in its ambition. From the icy expanse of the north to the sun-drenched cities of Dorne and the fiery ruins of battlefields, each setting feels alive, shaped by centuries of conflict and culture. The costuming, languages, family sigils, and historical references create a world as fully realized as Jordan's. And while the Wheel of Time leans more toward hope, balance, and rebirth, Game of Thrones often reveals the cost of unchecked ambition, the fragility of morality, and the inevitability of change. At its core, Game of Thrones is about power, who wants it, who deserves it, and what people will do to keep it. It doesn't offer easy answers or perfect heroes. Characters you root for might fall. Villains might find redemption. And through it all, the story remains grounded in the idea that history repeats itself in cycles of violence, hope, and renewal. A theme that's foundational to the Wheel of Time as well. For those who enjoyed the layers of politics, prophecy, and personal transformation in the Wheel of Time, Game of Thrones provides a grittier, more morally complex counterpart. It's darker, yes, but it's also rich, addictive, and unforgettable. Shadow and Bone. If the Wheel of Time captured your imagination with its division of magical orders, the mystery of the One Power, and a looming threat that shapes every kingdom's fate, then Shadow and Bone is a must-watch. Based on the Grishaverse novels by Leigh Bardugo, this Netflix fantasy series has quickly earned its place as one of the genre's most ambitious and visually striking adaptations. Set in the war-ravaged land of Ravka, Shadow and Bone follows Alina Starkov, a young orphan and mapmaker who discovers that she possesses a rare and dangerous magical ability, the power to summon sunlight. Much like Rand al'Thor's gradual discovery of his own immense power, Alina is thrust from obscurity into a world of ancient prophecies, secret orders, and people who either revere or fear her. The show wastes no time plunging viewers into a landscape torn apart by war, where a massive swath of darkness called the Shadow Fold divides the country, and within it lurk nightmarish creatures born of twisted magic. What makes Shadow and Bone especially compelling for Wheel of Time fans is its detailed magical system and the complex institutions built around it. In Ravka, magical users are called Grisha, and they're sorted into specific orders based on their abilities: healers, inferni, tidemakers, and more. This categorization feels reminiscent of the Ajaz within the Aes Sedai, where power is not only respected but politically weaponized. The Little Palace, where Grisha train and live, bears a clear similarity to the White Tower, a place of discipline, hierarchy, and quiet manipulation. Alina's journey is deeply internal as well as external. As she grows into her power, she must wrestle with the burden of expectations, the allure of seemingly benevolent mentors, and the cost of being a symbol. Her evolving dynamic with General Kirigan, also known as the Darkling, is particularly rich. He's a powerful Grisha shrouded in mystery and moral ambiguity, much like characters such as Moiraine or even Lan, individuals who often withhold the full truth in service of a greater goal. But where the Wheel of Time often focuses on light versus darkness as moral absolutes, Shadow and Bone blurs the line, challenging the idea of what saving the world really looks like and at what cost. Another unique layer comes from the show's weaving together of multiple storylines, especially those of the Crows, a gang of morally gray outlaws from the city of Ketterdam. Though not part of the original Shadow and Bone book trilogy, they bring an energy similar to that of Matt Cawthon or Tom Marilyn, characters who operate in the shadows but are vital to the larger narrative. These subplots add richness to the world, giving viewers a sense of the many lives affected by war, politics, and magic. Visually, Shadow and Bone is stunning. The production design leans heavily into Russian-inspired aesthetics, with fur-lined coats, gold-accented uniforms, and dark Gothic architecture. The contrast between Ravka's decaying nobility and the sleek criminal underworld of Ketterdom offers visual and thematic variety. The effects used to portray Grisha powers are elegant yet deadly, giving weight and texture to the show's magical battles. At its core, Shadow and Bone is a story of transformation, trust, and the search for identity in a world that wants to mold you into a myth. Like Rand, Alina did not choose to become a savior, yet her journey forces her to reckon with history, betrayal, and power's corrupting pull. The show, while filled with action and romance, never loses sight of its character-driven soul. For fans of the Wheel of Time who love their fantasy tinged with political tension, layered magic, and the ever-present question of who can be trusted, Shadow and Bone offers a thrilling new world to fall into. American Gods. For the Wheel of Time fans who love the blending of mythology, prophecy, and powerful archetypes, American Gods offers something uniquely profound. This Starz series, adapted from Neil Gaiman's celebrated novel, takes fantasy out of the medieval castles and ancient forests and plants it directly into the modern world, without losing any of the wonder, depth, or cosmic scale. If the Wheel of Time is about how time turns and history repeats, American Gods is about how belief shapes reality and how the old gods fade when forgotten. The story follows Shadow Moon, a man recently released from prison who becomes entangled in a war between the old gods and the new. The old gods, Odin, Anansi, Chernobog, and others, represent ancient religions, mythologies, and cultural spirits brought to America by immigrants across centuries. But now, they're being forgotten, replaced by new gods that embody media, technology, globalization, and corporate power. The resulting conflict isn't just a battle for survival. It's a philosophical showdown over what humanity chooses to worship, remember, and abandon. What makes American Gods resonate so deeply with fans of the Wheel of Time is its treatment of mythology as a living, evolving force. Just as Rand is not merely a man, but a pattern woven by the wheel to balance time itself, the gods in Gaiman's world are shaped by collective belief. If no one believes in them, they fade. If their myth survives in story, they gain strength. This idea, that faith, memory, and myth can literally alter reality, is one that pulses through the Wheel of Time, especially in how the pattern weaves Taverin into the world's destiny, shifting events through sheer presence and belief. Stylistically, American Gods is bold, surreal, and often visually stunning. Its cinematography is loaded with symbolism, dreamlike sequences, and unforgettable imagery. The storytelling is nonlinear at times, echoing the way the Wheel of Time layers present-day events with ancient prophecies and long-forgotten wars. The gods themselves are far from divine in the traditional sense. They're flawed, vengeful, manipulative, and deeply human. Much like the Forsaken in the Wheel of Time, or even the internal divisions within the Aes Sedai, these divine beings often fight among themselves, undermining their own cause for personal gain or vengeance. Shadow Moon's character arc is slow-burning and enigmatic, similar to Perrin or Matt. Characters pulled into cosmic roles they didn't choose, only to discover that their choices may reshape the world. As he travels across America with the mysterious Mr. Wednesday, revealed to be Odin, he begins to understand that nothing is what it seems, and that the war between gods is just a reflection of the war for the human soul. What's particularly compelling is how American Gods treats magic, not as a tool, but as something deeply tied to culture, storytelling, and memory. A coin trick can become resurrection. A whispered prayer can grant divine strength. Much like how the One Power is woven from the threads of Satan and Sadar, this magic flows from unseen forces, language, ritual, belief, rather than spells or potions. While American Gods is more mature, abstract, and symbolic than traditional fantasy fare, its ambition, scope, and mythological depth make it a rewarding experience for any fan who loves the spiritual and philosophical undercurrents of the Wheel of Time. It challenges viewers to think about what we believe in and what we allow to fade into forgotten history. Final thoughts. Each of these 5 shows, The Witcher, His Dark Materials, Shadow and Bone, Game of Thrones, and American Gods, offers a unique angle on what makes fantasy compelling. Whether it's destiny forged by ancient prophecies, the struggle between light and darkness, or the deeply personal journeys of flawed heroes, these series echo the grand themes that made the Wheel of Time such a timeless saga. If you're still yearning for rich world-building, powerful magic, and stories that linger in your thoughts long after the credits roll, these shows are your next gateways.